Hey, how's it going? And today I'm exploring the cloth effects to create a face through the mirror. And I'm just working out the mechanics right now, but I'll show you where I'm at right now with everything. To do this, I started by going into Modeler, and I just created, let me make this window smaller. Let me hit A. I just created a box, just one on a plane. And then I went around and selected just the points. And I came over here and created a weight map. You just go to new, and I created a weight map just around the points on the edge, and then created that and saved that, and then sent it over to layout. So if I just switch to layout now, here's my plane, and I go into the surface editor. I made it double-sided, and then I have a sphere that I just created here in here, but I made it small. I dropped it down to 10% of its size. So I just created this sphere here. I think if I look here, you can see I guess I scaled it down to 0.25 on the X, Y, and Z. And then on the first frame here, that was my initial position. Then I just dragged it to the end here. Well, I made 240 frames, and then I dragged it through, and that was my initial animation. So then of just this ball going through this plane, and with no cloth effects, it just goes right through the plane, and the plane is double-sided too. So then if you go on the ball and you go to properties, you come here to add effects, you can add what's called the FX collision, and then if you double click on that, I just kept it at everything at the default settings, and I just kept it at bounce. So this ball is, you go to properties, add effects, FX collision, default settings, it's on bounce. So there's not really all that much to there. I guess there's this one to play around with, and there's a ton of settings on here, and it's actually kind of fun to play around with this. But if you go on to, so if we close out of that and we go on to the plane, we go to properties, and you go add effects and cloth effects, and you double click on this. These are the settings I've been playing around with. So kind of looking at the LightWave manuals, very helpful. There's like 20 or 30 pages. The two settings I'll show you that seem to help with this effect is, the first one is, well, there's a couple. So the one thing is, when you come to etc., you can set a preset, and I found jelly to be the best. And there's a number of here, but jelly I think is the best. I selected hair, and it seemed like it froze up my whole system. And I will mention one thing on this mesh, this particular mesh. It does affect things as how thick it is, like how many. So if I jump back here into Modeler, I don't know how many this is, maybe 25 or whoops, this way and this way. If you make this super dense, it starts affecting the effect itself. So I just kind of went in the middle of, as far as my mesh, not super dense, not super light either. So you might have to play around with different segmentation here, differing their number of points. But I would say that this seems to work pretty well. I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 30 by 30, something like that. So let me go back into layout. So that does impact things, how thick your mesh is. So I have it on jelly and etc. And then first setting that I played around with is viscosity, and we'll play with it here just to show you the difference. So once you have all your settings, you simply press calculate. So right now I have it on viscosity, and according to the manual, it controls the level of impact that a collision object will have with the shape of an object. And it says basically a higher value tends to keep the shape more. So right now I have it on a higher value because it's just from 0 to 1. So you'll watch what happens when the ball hits it. Right now it's kind of snapping through. It goes through and it kind of makes that one big ripple. Right? Now if I come down here, and I have this set to the surface, so this viscosity setting is only going to affect the surface. If I click this off, you'll see I have some other choices, but I just want it to affect the surface. Now watch what happens if I hit it down to 0 and I calculate it. It really creates a ripple effect. So that is just up to you how much of a ripple you want. So I thought maybe somewhere in the middle, maybe like 0.6 or something like that. So let's calculate that and see what that looks like. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I like it, the whole thing being affected by it or not. So maybe I'll just keep it like 0.9. And let's calculate that. Yeah, that's not bad right there. The other setting that I looked at was over here on the advanced, and it's the dredge limit. So the lower this goes, and again, this is only set to affect the default surface. So if I have this on 100%, let me see if I can find here. I should walk you through this part too here. So we have the fix is, remember, is the points are all weighted around the side, so that's what's holding it in place. And then on the collision, we have the collision detect as a default surface, and then the exclusive collision is with the new sphere object, and the interaction is with all. And I suppose you could just have it with that, and then no other changes really right here. And then advanced, I have this. So the lower this number goes, the less it will stretch. So if I go to, like, let's just put in 25% here and go calculate, let's see what it does. So let's go back and try 50%. Calculate that. So it's letting it go further in before it pops through. So I haven't found any settings other than jelly that lets the ball bounce through, go through. So let me try another one. Let's go back and put it at 100. Calculate that. So it should stretch the furthest this time. And then the last one is, let's just put it at 0 and see what it looks like. So I guess it affects kind of how far this will bend before the ball actually pops through. And so I would say the biggest variable, honestly, is how dense your mesh is. And it seems to be a medium mesh, a medium level mesh. I've had it where if I made the mesh too dense, the ball just catches and keeps going. And so it would almost act like almost like a trampoline, no matter what setting it was on. But if it's a medium mesh, it seems to be able to push through. And there may be a way also to affect this with a weight map so that it busts through just here. Maybe you can just weaken this part and lessen the points in here. I mean, it's something to play around with, but it's interesting, and it's a really great effect. And so I think it has a lot of utility. And it's funny, in the LightWave documentation, it says cloth dynamics can be used for clothing on a character, such as a dress or shirt, a flag blowing in the wind, curtains, a tablecloth, hair, and then, and then it says this in the documentation, mud flaps on a truck. But I think it has a lot more application than that. But anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.